Howdy everybody, I pray this video finds you blessed. So this week I had an idea of using this chunk of walnut that John sent me, and also the brass, copper, and bronze nuggets that was also sent to me by the other John from Peacock Farms. This project was definitely an experimental, just to kind of see how far I can push using this metal and wood in combination. Had this vision in my head of having half of the vase with the bronze and copper chips in it, or nuggets in it, and then the other half being walnut, so it kind of looks like it just faded into one or the other. And that's the reason why I'm putting my hole off center. I have an idea of the size I want, but I need to round out this blank first, so that way when I cast it, I have a nice round piece and I'm not having to use more nuggets and more resin than what's necessary. I'm putting a 10 in at both ends because this piece is too long to fit in my pressure pot, but my vision for the shape and size of the vase definitely required length. So I decided to cut it in half and then cast the two pieces separate. I just took it over to my bandsaw off camera and went ahead and cut it down the center. I also sanded the sides that would have the brass and copper and bronze pieces. Because I was casting in clear resin, I knew that you'd be able to see a little bit of that rough surface. And I didn't mind it too much, just there were some pieces that had paint or whatever got rubbed off on it because it was a really rough cut. So I just took it over to the sander and gave it a rough sanding, nothing too crazy or special. The plastic I'm using to create my molds is actually plastic cutting mats that you can get at the Dollar Tree. We have a store here that's called Dollar Tree. Everything in it is $1, and these mats come 3 in a pack for only $1. They are reusable as long as you don't, rough them up too much whenever you remove them from your molds. I used a lid from a Cool Whip container. A friend of mine saves all of their Cool Whip containers for me so I can cast in them, and I really appreciate it. All of those plastic containers that you normally would toss are very useful for casting, so don't toss them. Put them in a box and save them. My original idea was to super glue these to the sides of the piece, kind of lay them out strategically or what have you. But I started thinking I was going to use clear resin again, and I didn't want that hazy, bubbly, and my UV resin that I do have is old and it doesn't cure properly, so I didn't get any in time ordered before this project. I had to just kind of go with it. So I decided just to dump them all in there. And that, it probably would have been better if I had placed some, because that really added to the weight of this project. And you'll see later on how that complicated things. But for starters, right now I'm just casting it in clear and doing it 2 separate times because both of these containers wouldn't fit in my pressure pot. I just want to take a second and thank everyone from my father and I, from the bottom of our hearts, for ordering our pressure pot knobs that we have in my Etsy store. These are very useful, I know, because I'm so thankful to have them. And my father is absolutely thankful for each and every one of you who has purchased them, and he takes pride in them. And so, again, thank you, everybody. I'm preparing the first piece while the other one's curing in the pressure pot to be connected with the other one. So this one, I am just kind of squaring off that face and trying to get the shape somewhat close to my final desired shape. It's really hard for me to connect two shapes when they're not together, like lids on pieces and things like that. I have a hard time. So those pieces have to be together in order for me to really be able to visualize. Like I said in my other videos, I do A and B. I connect A and B together, and if there's no B to C, I can't connect them. It's just hard for me. Turning this half alone was really out of balance and stayed out of balance, obviously, because there's metal all on one side. My thought was I could take the other half and put the metal on the opposite side, but I started visualizing how that would look in my head, and I didn't like the idea. I was determined to follow through with my original plan, my original idea for the piece, and I just couldn't compromise, and I was willing to just completely fail before I gave up on, the design. Stubborn as a mule, my father would say. I didn't purposely throw that in the floor. It was so heavy, and it was so unexpectedly heavy that it just dropped right out of my hand. So here's the second half, and I'm doing the same thing, just trying to clean it up and get it prepared and ready to glue to the first half that I threw on the floor. And yes, I did try my gouges to cut this, but because I couldn't go very fast, this thing was causing my lathe to walk off of the boards that I have it on to keep it at the height I need because I'm so tall. It was just walking, and so 500, if I'm lucky, that was pushing it as far as the speed. If I tried to turn it up past that wobble to get into that kind of balanced area, it would just make the lathe move back and forth like a swing. It literally looked like a swing. And so the gouge, it worked where there wasn't very much metal, but as soon as I hit any kind of metal, because I was going so slow, it just would pull chunks out, and it was making the shavings a lot larger. And speaking of the shavings, make sure you vacuum up really good if you decide to use metal in your projects like this. There was so many parts of this project where I was just going, what was I thinking? And I was like, one of those projects where you're like, this is so dumb. What was I thinking? It was a great idea, but, in design, but as far as my approach, it definitely needed some more thought. There was shavings everywhere, shavings on my clothes that it just felt like I was getting stabbed with needles continually. I had to keep all the animals and kids out of the shop, there was shavings everywhere. So I took more time cleaning up than I did turning. I mean, I was constantly vacuuming everything, and everywhere was metal shavings everywhere. Yes, it was very dramatic. Anyways, I'm hollowing it out because I'm still, holding on to the idea of gluing these two pieces together and using my hollowing tool to hollow it. I figured hollowing as much as I possibly can now will help take some of that time and process, shorten up the process later on. I'm using fast set resin, Total Boats fast set, to join these two pieces together because I kind of wanted to get to turning this, or at least start shaping it that night. I knew it was going to take some time. It took quite a bit of time just turning these two pieces separately because of the speed I was limited to. It, but the cutter on this really did hold up really well. I had to go slow and steady and just a little bit at a time. There was spots where it wanted to dig in, and yeah, it was difficult to say the least. I turned this project a week ago and my arms are still sore. The muscles in my chest and back are still sore from holding my tools down and having to just be so tense while turning because you're just constantly being bounced. I mean, there was no balance. It was constant jerk. And turning at slow speeds like that is just more intense. You know, when your tool does hit that metal, it's just more intense. I wouldn't recommend filling a piece completely full of maybe doing a rim. The bowl I did with the rim, that was perfect. That was just enough metal and not too much of it where I had to cut into it. I think those kinds of projects would be just fine. But this was way overboard, way too much. I sanded the piece to 400 grit and then just wiped it down really good with Denatured Alcohol. I forgot to put sanding sealer on before I put my finish. This time I'm trying out the medium set. The fast set seems to be a little too fast, doesn't allow the air and things like that to kind of work out while it's curing. The slow set is a little too slow, so it stays tacky too long. I have to run the lathe a little too long. And the medium set seems to be just perfect. Doug at Pole Barn has been trying it out prior to me ordering it, and he said it worked great. So by his suggestion, I decided I was going to try the medium, and I do love it. My only problem I had, obviously, is I did not put sanding sealer, and therefore the air that was in the wood kind of came up through the surface, and I should have known better, but you know, I was already brokenhearted because my project wasn't turning out like I wanted. So anyways, I just sanded that back with 400 grit and put another really nice thin coat on it, and that did the job. The outside diameter of the piece is 4 inches and the height is 4.5, and weighing in at 2.5 pounds. Yes, 2.5 pounds. It's currently being used as my toothpaste and my toothbrush holder in my bathroom, and also, you know, in case I need a self-defense weapon in my bathroom. Thank you all so very much for watching my videos. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care and God bless.